Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to the fourth video in our missiondawah.com online dawah training course series with Abdurraheem Green. So before Abdurraheem, we discussed the reasons to believe in a creator of our universe. Some people say, fine, I agree with that, but that's it. I'm just going to live my life how I do. God never speaks to me. I'm just going to live my life and enjoy life. Where do we take the conversation from there?
There are three really good ways to bridge that gap between acknowledging that the universe has a creator who is powerful, intelligent, wise, unique, to the need for revelation.
Right.
And that's by going to some very profound questions that most people ask. Number one, what is the purpose of life? Why are we here? What's it all for? So you could discuss with the person, you could raise this topic. What is the purpose of life? Why do we human beings exist? Not what do you want to do with your life, but why do we human beings exist? Everything has a purpose. Your eyes have a purpose. Your nose has a purpose. Your mouth, your shoes, your pen, the earthworm, everything has a purpose.
Yeah.
Yet if we ask this question, what is the purpose of human beings? It's very difficult. You know, it's really hard to think or to actually answer clearly, where do we fit in this earth? It's almost as if we don't quite belong here. So that's a very profound question that I am sure everybody asks themselves at some time in their life. What is the purpose of life? So you could raise that question with them. The other question is the question of death. This is a very good time to introduce the concept of akhirah. Some du'at like to raise it at the end, which is fine. But this is the time that I like to, in the middle, I like to raise the question of death. Because that's a big question for most people.
Sure.
What's going to happen when you die? Is there a life after death? Will your energy just become merged with the energy of the universe and for all intents and purposes you have no existence? Or will you be reincarnated? Or is there a day of judgment, a paradise, a hellfire? Whatever is supposed to happen after we die, we need to know. We want to know. So whichever way it is, it would be really good to have some information about this one way or the other.
Yeah.
The third is the problem of evil. Why is there so much suffering in the earth? If there is a God, why is there so much suffering? Why is there so much evil? Why is there all of these bad things happening? Now it's very important that the question of evil is actually not a question about God's existence. Because conceivably, there could be a creator and a wise, intelligent, powerful creator who created a universe just to torture people.
Right.
I mean, we don't believe that about God, but it's conceivable. For whatever reason God may have for doing that. It doesn't mean there's not a God. It doesn't mean because there's suffering on the earth that there's not a creator. We know there's a creator for the reasons that we've given previously.
Sure.
So the question here is, and of course there isn't just suffering on the earth. There's love, there's joy, there's happiness, there's so many positive things, and there's many negative things as well. So the real question is, it doesn't impinge at all upon the existence of a creator, but it begs the question, why?
Yeah.
Why does the Creator let these things happen? Why doesn't the Creator stop the evil? Why doesn't the Creator stop the good? I mean, it depends perhaps on your mentality, but you know, the question why is there. And the only way to come to any conclusive end to these questions is not through speculation. Philosophy can never answer these questions. Science can never answer these questions, simply because this is unseen.
Sure.
So I'll give you an example. Imagine that I said to you, imagine we're in, I was pointing to a building, and I said, what is on the third floor of that building? In that window, on the third floor, what's in that room? You have no way. It's far away. You can't see it. The curtains are closed. You have no way of knowing. You can guess. Maybe there's a chair and tables, but maybe there isn't. Maybe there's nothing. But what if I now said to you that your survival, your existence depends upon you knowing what's in that room? And you have to make a decision in the next 20 minutes. But what I have to offer you is various people. Each one of those various people is going to offer you an explanation of what's in that room. They're all going to make claims. These people are all going to make claims. One is going to claim this, one is going to claim that, one is going to claim this. And one of those people is going to be able to give you the right information. Again, it goes back to what we discussed. What process are you going to use to decide which guy is speaking the truth? Right? So, just to take a step backwards here, right? There's a need for revelation because we have some profound questions about our existence. And there's compelling reasons for us to understand that we need those answers to those questions.
Sure.
And it's not something, it's something we can expect, because we look at our life as human beings and we find that we have many needs. We have emotional needs, we have physical needs. And in this world we have all the means for those needs to be met. We're hungry, there's food. We're thirsty, there's drink. We're human beings, the naked ape, they call us, we have clothes, right? We have all the means to provide for our needs, and also our emotional needs. So how about these profound questions? Wouldn't it be rational to presume that the Creator who has provided for all of these physical and emotional needs has also provided answers to these important questions? But as I said, the only way you can reach certainty is if God provides those answers. Nothing else will do. Everything else will be speculation. Yeah. So that's the need for revelation. The point about the room and the different people goes back to something Muslims believe. Muslims believe that the way that God, the Creator, has let us know the answers to these questions. What is the purpose of life? Not only what is the purpose of life, but how we should fulfill the purpose for which we have been created. So there's two things. The revelation tells us the purpose of life. It tells us about the life after death. It explains to us why God made the world in the way that He made it. Why is there evil? Why is there suffering? It provides all of the explanations. But it also tells us how to deal with that, how to live our life. So we believe that throughout human history, God has been sending messengers. They are human beings, as we are human beings, and they are a living example of how we should follow God's guidance. And these messengers have been given books. So we can refer to those books and we look at those messengers as living examples of how to follow those books.
Right.
So the example I often give is, if you get a new piece of electronic hardware and you're unfamiliar with it, one of the things you'll be looking for straight away is the manual.
Yeah.
The instruction. How do I work this? How do I turn this on? Now these days some stuff has got so smart. Literally the manual is turn it on. Flip it over, turn it on, this and that, and the rest of it. But it depends on the piece of equipment. But whatever it is, usually you need the instruction manual. And it's no good to get an instruction manual from, if you've got a Sony Ericsson phone and you've got an instruction manual from Nokia, it's no good. You need the one who made the phone to give you the instructions for that phone.
Sure.
It's the same for human beings, right? We need an instruction manual from the one who created us.
Yeah.
We don't need other human beings who themselves need guidance to give us guidance. Right?
True.
Now, unless that human being has got guidance from God. So, and often what I also say is, imagine that when a company sold you a product, they didn't just give you an instruction manual. They sent someone to actually teach you hands-on how to use it.
Yeah.
You say that's customer service, right? Okay. So this is what we believe. We believe that God has given us a book, in a sense, an instruction manual. He sent us human beings like us, to show us we can do it. If one human being can do it, you can do it, to show us practically how we can follow that guidance.
Sure.
Okay. So, but the question is there's lots of people making that claim. Lots of people claiming that ground, right? It's not only just Islam. No, we know Christians are making a similar claim. Hindus are making a similar claim. Buddhists, Sikhs, many different people. Maybe they're not well-known religions, but there are many different people making that claim. And that's why I get back to the example of the room. You have all of these people in front of you. What process are you going to use? Let's go back to common sense.
Yeah.
Now, what if I said that one of these guys, he never told a lie. He's never ever lied. In fact, he's honest, truthful, trustworthy. This man has sacrificed everything for truth. I mean, I think straight away you're going to feel inclined to believe what that person is saying. But what if we add to that this guy actually is dressed in a uniform, and what do we find is the logo he's got is the same as the logo on the building.
Yeah.
And then what if on top of that he can show you a business card and it says 3rd floor? Yeah, remember the room was on the 3rd floor,
Yeah.
right? And it says room such and such and whatever it is. And imagine there's some way you could actually now begin to figure out that actually that's the room. Now your likelihood of believing this individual is just escalating on every single level. And that's what we believe. We believe that God has given the messengers, someone like Muhammad, who was truthful and he was honest and he was sincere and he was trustworthy. He was a person who even his enemies found it very hard to accuse him of lying and deception. When we look at the character of Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, that's what we find. That alone inclines us to believe if a man never lied about others, is he going to come along and lie about such a big thing, about God and revelation? And then what if on top of that, we find that the book that he brings is full of indicators, things that would suggest that that's what I would expect to find in a book that's from God. That's the type of knowledge and information and consistency that I would expect in a book that it's from the creator of the heavens and the earth. So the same way that, the guy has the ID badges, there's certain things that now begin to make you feel that this gives you assurance that yes, this is really something. This is a person who's speaking the truth.
Yeah.
This is something that looks like it really might be from God.
Sure.
Okay? And that is how we can start. I mean, I think, just hearing that, if you're explaining that to a non-Muslim, it's like they can relate to that totally.
Sure.
This is just, and again, using common sense, using reason. Now what we need to do is offer them, show them some of those things some of those indicators that show us that the Quran is from God. Sure. We've already, I suppose, in a sense, discussed the Prophet Muhammad being truthful, being honest. We could give some examples from the life of the Prophet ﷺ about his honesty, his truthfulness, his trustworthiness, his great character. His whole life is full of examples of that. My particular favorite one that I like to use is when there was an eclipse of the sun, and there was an eclipse of the sun on the same day his child died. He had a child, Ibrahim. Ibrahim died when he was 6 months old. On the same day there was an eclipse of the sun.
Sure.
And even in those days, you can imagine, even today probably, if you went and told people, doesn't that prove he's a prophet? You get some people saying, yeah, that's amazing. His son died and there's an eclipse of the sun. And sure enough, in those days, it's 1,400 years ago, people thought this is, a sign from God, and they were running out and they were saying, look, even the sun mourns for the death of the Prophet of Allah. And then the Prophet Muhammad did this amazing thing. He called everybody and he told them off. He said, this is the sun, this is the moon. They don't eclipse for the birth or the death of any man. When you see this, it's a time to pray to the one who created all of these things. Now, you have to think that if Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, was a liar, what an opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been trying to persuade people for 22 years that you're a prophet of God, and on the day your child dies, which, by the way, I mean, it's a big event today, but children dying in those days was, it wasn't, and it was a lot more common than it is for most of us living in the West. I mean, I think the Prophet had 2 sons who died when they were children, 3, including Ibrahim. So, all I'm trying to say is that, here's a guy, if you're saying he's a liar, that means he spent 20-something years trying to persuade them that he's a prophet. What an opportunity. You see, I told you people, you'd use no one would miss that opportunity. Even if you'd say, yeah, well, he wasn't a liar, he was deluded, he was mad, he thought he was a prophet, he really believed it, that's why he was so sincere. It's not that he was a liar, but again, a deluded person would be saying, oh yeah, I'm a prophet of God, this is, look at this. But what does he say? He says, this is the sun, this is the moon. He's saying this is just the normal processes. These are the things that God has put in his creation. These things don't happen because people die.
Yeah.
Right? This is there to make you realize that this universe has a creator. That there are patterns, there is order in this universe.
Sure.
So remember, God, this is not the words of a liar or a deluded person. This is the words of a truthful person who really is what he claims to be, a messenger of God. Okay, so and there are many other examples. I'm just giving you one. And so the brothers and sisters who are giving dawah, would be very good for them to familiarize themselves with the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's so many other examples you can give, so many beautiful things. There are people who are interested in animals' rights, people who are interested in the environment. You find some beautiful things the Prophet said sallallahu alaihi wasallam about all of those things, you see, just to show what is the reality of the character and the personality of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then obviously when we go to the Quran, we have so many opportunities, mashallah, to show them historical statements that it's really inconceivable how someone 1,400 years ago could have known the information, who could have put in that book information that was so accurate. Some of it is concerning history, some of those things are concerning the natural world. And anyone who reads the Quran, I think they will, that was my first impression when I read the Quran, is that how little it seemed to reflect the attitudes that were existing 1,400 years ago. It reads like a really modern book. For example, in Surah Al-Anbiya, the chapter of the prophets, it talks about, have not those who disbelieved seen that the heavens and the earth were joined together as one united piece? Then we rent them asunder, and we created from water every living thing. Will they not believe? Yeah? And the Quran describes how Allah created the mountains, and he placed them in the mountains' roots, lest the earth would shake with them. So, these are things that we've only really discovered very, very recently. I'm talking literally in the last 70, 80 years. Yet we find the Quran 1,400 years ago. There's no way that the Prophet Muhammad could have, where could he have got such accurate information from? Sure. These ideas did not even exist then. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
We have details of human embryonic development mentioned in the Quran, information that simply did not exist. Although you do have people like Aristotle and Galen speculating on certain, they made a lot of mistakes. They said a lot of things that were not, and the Quran does not, despite what some people say, it is not reflecting their ideas. In fact,
Sure.
their ideas were inaccurate. They had some points right, but they were generally inaccurate. The Quran is really accurate, amazingly accurate, in a way that challenges an explanation. The most rational explanation is that this is knowledge from God.
Yeah.
And the only person who is going to deny it at the end of the day is a person who doesn't want to believe in God, or a person who has another belief system that they simply don't want to let go of. But for an open-minded, rational person, it's like we said in the beginning. If you use reason, you're ready to use reason, you come to the conclusion, this book, the Quran, must be, and this man, Muhammad, must be what it claims to be, a revelation from the Creator of the heavens and the earth.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is that initially when you're in a discussion, you can bring in the conversation of the revelation from the need for revelation, saying that, look, we've got given oxygen, food, water, provided all our needs. Well, wouldn't our Creator also, fulfill our spiritual needs, answer some of the questions on why we're in existence in the first place, and why is there pain and suffering on this earth? And then taking it through there to show how the Quran itself is from the Creator, because it has some things within there that indicate that it couldn't have just been from a human being, but from the Creator. And then we look at going into prophethood, which is the P in Go Rap, where you can introduce the whole concepts of prophethood, why we need them, and then talk about how Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wasn't a liar, he wasn't deluded, neither was he, so therefore he must have been telling the truth. So is that basically the structure there?
That's basically it. Exactly, that's the basic structure. How you put it together really is up to you. I mean, a person may argue, listen, why can't I just pull out the Quran and start showing them scientific things and say, well, explain that? Well, you could do that. But the benefit of going through all of this, talking about the existence of God, talking about prophethood, talking about the need for revelation, is that you have to realize that what you're doing is building a much more complete and profound and persuasive picture. And if you just took one thing and just presented it on its own. And that's important. It's very important in the long term. It's important for giving that person certainty and conviction, and letting that person themselves understand really how deep is the reasonableness of what Islam is offering. And I think that that's why, another reason why I really like to promote the method of taking the time when you can, of going through the whole of Go Rap, talking about God's oneness, talking about all of these things, and take the time to do that.
Sure. Okay, Jazakallah khair, Abdurraheem. There you have it. Today we've discussed how we can take a non-Muslim and show them how the Quran is from God, and how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was truthful, and he was what he claimed to be, which is a prophet of Allah. And inshallah, the next video is all about going for gold, actually getting the Shahada. As always, Jazakallah khair for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.